Hi, welcome to another one of my Own Your Expertise interviews. I'm Emily Crookston, owner and decider of all things at the Pocket PhD. I'm the ghostwriter for Rebels, Renegades, and Mavericks, and I love helping experts with big ideas get those ideas out of their heads and into the hands of their fans. Today, I'm sitting down with Nakita Rowell Stevens. Nakita is the owner of Word Stylist. She's a creative professional with a strong background in writing, marketing, and sales. She does a lot. Nakita, thanks for speaking with me. Will you tell us a little bit more about who you work with and what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you, first of all, Emily, for having me on. Glad to be here. And what I work primarily with small business owners and people who have aspirations to write their own book.
Mm-hmm.
I, like you, I'm a ghostwriter, but I primarily focus on people that want to tell their story, whether it's they want to build an author platform, or if they want to tell their story through an autobiography or a memoir, or even if they want to write fiction.
Okay.
I work with them as a ghostwriter and as a writing coach to be able to bring that out, and I love it.
Very good. Yeah. I'm happy to know you because I don't love book coaching is not my favorite thing. So I'm glad to get into your universe. Always good to know other ghostwriters and other book coaches. Very great. Very good.
Definitely.
Cool. So how would you describe your path to becoming an expert?
So it's funny. I don't think it was on purpose. It was definitely very much by accident. And what I mean by that is writing for me has been inherent most of my life. I started writing when I was in middle school. And so I always knew it was a talent that I had within myself. It took me a while to really nurture that and really accept it. I thought, it's funny, I went on to college and studied journalism, broadcast journalism. And the reason why I chose broadcast journalism is because I am an extroverted writer. And that's very much of an oxymoron. Most people are not. And I struggled, even as a kid, knowing that I was good at writing, with sitting down and long enough to like do something. And like, I want to go do something. I'm going to go talk to somebody. I can't be in a room by myself. You know, it was kind of agony for me, even though I knew it was something I was good at. So when I discovered broadcast journalism, I thought, wow, this is a way for me to combine the best of both worlds. What I actually ended up doing was building another skill set, because if you know anything about broadcast journalism and creative writing, they are as far apart in the spectrum as possible. So I developed another skill set, and I love journalism. I still do freelance journalism to this day, but I just didn't nurture that talent. So I kind of grew my career. Like you mentioned, I've got, lots of experience in sales and marketing, and I kind of put a lot of my talent in writing on the back burner for a while, and then started to emerge and do freelance writing more. And about going on 7 years ago is when I started Word Stylist. So I hardly saw myself as an expert at the time. It was just something I knew how to do. And when you know something and you've known it for so long, I don't know, you just don't look at yourself that way.
I think most entrepreneurs have this kind of path that, as you describe it, as accidental in some ways. Becoming the expert, right? It's not like a lot of people don't, I think, sit down and say, I'm going to become an expert writer.
Exactly. I think where I'm starting to own that a little bit more is because my business has evolved into a coaching platform. And you can't coach without being an expert in what you do, because people aren't going to hire you if you don't have, fruit on the tree. And I never saw myself ever as being a coach. I never did. I have my own business coach. I work with a coach, and it's been very helpful for me in my business, but it was just never a path that I saw. But what happened is, with me being a ghostwriter, what I found is it was a natural progression for me, because I worked with so many people, but then there were people that couldn't work with me that wanted to write a book, because ghostwriting is a premium service. It's not cheap, and I had to do a lot of education with a lot of people, because so many people come to me saying, I want to write a book. And I started thinking, I wonder if people would be willing to work in a program where I give them, if they're willing to put in some sweat equity and say, I will coach you. And that was a transition for me. And it took some growing on my part, because when something is inherent to you as writing, as it is to me, It's like I had to work with my coach. I'm like, can you pull this stuff out of my head so I can teach other people? Because I just know how to do it. You know?
Right. Yes.
So yeah, so that's kind of how that process worked. But it was a response to what I was seeing happen in my market, that it was a need.
What is your die in a ditch belief? So for the audience, I like to talk about your die in a ditch belief. It might be a slightly controversial, a little bit disruptive, but it's something that you could defend if someone pressed you on it. I always like to ask my guests, what's your die in a ditch belief? So tell us.
I didn't really think about this one, but
Yeah.
I think the one that really came to the surface is that your habits can really make or break you. Um, and it's such a simple concept, but so many people really fail to realize how valuable that is. It really makes a difference between whether you stay where you are or you move forward. And if you're willing to accept or bring in new habits and change, then you will grow. I mean, it's really just that simple. And so when it comes to something like writing, I'm like, I'll start something with as small as, can you give me a paragraph a day? Can you give, let's start small and we build on it. But if you don't do that, you're not going to move forward. And to take it a little bit deeper when it comes to building habits, if you don't have an emotional connection or a reason why you are starting that habit, you're not going to commit to it. And I tell people time and time again, when it comes to books, people can have a really great idea for a book. And like, I really want to write this. It's going to impact so many people. And it really is a great idea. But if you're not connected, you can love the idea, but if you're not connected and feel some conviction behind that idea, that you're willing to discipline yourself on a daily basis to write the book, it's not going to happen. And so, and a lot of people don't get that in the beginning. They just think, oh, this idea is really cool. Like, are you willing to stay, an hour a day or however much time you have to put into that idea? If so, you're ready to move forward.
Right. That's a great point. I tell people that all the time too. Book idea, a really great idea is not enough to carry you through that process of writing a book. You're so right. The habit, the discipline of just sitting down and writing, that's most people who get stuck with their books, it's just that they're not writing. I mean, that's how you get stuck. So if you can form that habit, it's super helpful. Yeah. So what would you say has helped you the most in learning to own your expertise?
Every aspect of my business from the time I started up until now really hasn't been something I have really determined or said from the beginning, I want to do this, other than just writing itself, I hope that means I'm very in tune and intuitive and listening to my customers and understanding what they want and responding to their needs. But that my expertise, it hasn't been shaped by me. It's been shaped by the people that I work with. I think it's a fine line, in determining that. And what I mean by that is, early in my business, I thought I was doing the same thing.
Right.
And, I responded very much to what people said they wanted. And at that time, everybody wanted social media and it was social media management. And so my first 3 clients, I was actually a social media manager. I don't want to be a social media manager. I never wanted to be a social media manager. I'm a content writer. I like to write content. That's what I do. But what I did is I listened to what people were saying and said, like so many people are when they're new business owners, I was a yes man or yes woman.
Yeah, right.
I can do that. I can do that. And you have to learn that there's that fine line between listening and understanding what your customers want, but also listening to and understanding what it is that you want and what you're willing to deliver, and finding that medium ground in between.
Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation, Nakita. Thanks so much for sitting down with me. Tell us where we can learn more about you.
Okay, you can find me on my website, which is www.wordstylistrva.com. I'm also on Facebook at Word Stylist, and also on Instagram at Word Stylist RVA. So any of those areas you can find me.